On a cloudy morning in the center of New York City, the courthouse doors opened wide. A crowd had assembled outside, with reporters quietly speaking to their cameras about a high-stakes case that had been dragging on for months. Inside, a young woman named Emily Foster sat anxiously at the plaintiff's table, her hands tightly clenched in her lap. Across from her was a man, his expression one of hardened defiance, her former employer, Richard Carmichael, a ruthless businessman. Emily had dedicated herself to Carmichael Enterprises, a real estate firm notorious for its ruthless tactics. However, upon discovering fraudulent activities within the company, money laundering, forged contracts, and evictions based on deceit, she made the difficult decision to blow the whistle. As a result, she was fired, blacklisted, and faced with a defamation lawsuit. This battle had been long and exhausting, and today marked the final hearing. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, entered the room and took her seat. The proceedings commenced, the air thick with tension as attorneys argued back and forth. Evidence was presented, and witnesses took the stand. Then, a surprising visitor arrived. Emily felt a wave of hopelessness. Richard had deep pockets and a battalion of high-powered lawyers backing him. Just as the defense attorney was about to finish his argument, something extraordinary happened. The heavy courtroom doors creaked open and a stray dog trotted inside. The judge raised an eyebrow. "A dog in here?" Murmurs spread through the crowd as the small, scruffy brown dog, missing an ear and adorned with a scar across its muzzle, padded down the aisle. Its fur was matted, and its ribs were faintly visible beneath its thin coat. The dog showed no hesitation. It walked directly to Richard Carmichael's table, sniffed around, and then did something unexpected. It growled. Not just any growl. It was a deep, guttural sound filled with recognition, anger, and betrayal. The room descended into stunned silence, and Richard's face drained of color. "Get that thing out of here," he barked, but the dog remained steadfast. It turned to Emily and whimpered, its tail wagging slightly before sitting beside her as if it belonged there. Emily stared down at the dog in disbelief. Something about it seemed hauntingly familiar. Then it struck her. Her breath hitched in her throat. "Your Honor," she said shakily, "I believe I know this dog." The judge, intrigued, signaled for her to continue. Emily took a deep breath. "A few months ago, I found this dog outside Carmichael Enterprises. He was injured, limping, and starving. I took him in for the night, fed him, and tried to find him a home, but the next morning, he had vanished. He just disappeared." She turned to Richard, a sudden fire igniting in her eyes. "Mr. Carmichael, do you recognize this dog?" Richard shifted, uncomfortably. "Of course not," he replied, but the dog knew differently. It let out another low growl, this time baring its teeth. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Carmichael, I would advise you to answer truthfully." Beads of sweat appeared on Richard's forehead as his lawyer whispered something in his ear. But before Richard could respond, the dog did something even more shocking. It lunged at the briefcase beside Richard's chair, knocking it over. Papers scattered across the floor, revealing a torn, crumpled piece of cloth. Emily gasped. "That's my scarf!" It was the very scarf she had wrapped around the dog the night she rescued him. The judge narrowed her eyes. "Mr. Carmichael, how did this come to be in your possession?" Richard's lawyer stammered. "Your Honor, this is irrelevant." "Not anymore," the judge interrupted. "Bailiff, collect those documents." The bailiff complied, handing them over as the judge scrutinized them, her expression growing darker. "Mr. Carmichael, would you like to explain why these documents contain fraudulent property deals that are directly related to the case at hand?" A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Emily's heart raced. This stray dog, this unlikely witness, had just unveiled proof of Richard's corruption. The defense attorney scrambled for words, but it was too late. The judge banged her. "Gavel! I am declaring an immediate investigation into Carmichael Enterprises. Furthermore, I find substantial evidence supporting Miss Foster's claims." "This case is ruled in her favor." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. It was over. She had won. Richard's face contorted with rage as officers approached him. "You can't do this," he bellowed, but the law had spoken. As he was led away, Emily knelt beside the dog, stroking its battered fur. "You saved me," she whispered. "How can I ever thank you?" The dog simply wagged its tail, licking her hand. Later that day, as Emily stepped out of the courthouse, she carried the stray in her arms. She had already decided this dog had been abandoned just like her, but now neither of them would ever be alone again. She named him Justice. From that day forward, Justice was not just her dog. He was her reminder that sometimes the most unexpected heroes change lives forever. The moral of the story: truth has a way of revealing itself often in the most unexpected of ways. Kindness, even towards the smallest creatures, can create ripples that lead to justice and change. Never underestimate the power of doing what is right, because, in the end, justice always finds a way.